Hi guys, and welcome to our Motivation Assist podcast, where today we are going to talk about water. I'm joined again by Maebh. Thank you, Maebh, for coming in and doing our podcast. How are you today?
I'm great, Aisling. Delighted to be here. Thank you.
Good. And I see you have your water in front.
I do.
And like we always say, we like to practice what we preach.
Absolutely.
I think the water one is a really interesting topic. And I know, and you would have heard me, Maebh, and I know we all say it, not to put emphasis on the scale and water, because the scale is weighing all of us. It's weighing muscle, it's weighing water, and it's weighing the fat. And a lot of the time, the water levels, we can see it by doing our body fat analysis that it's fluid. People may have had a really good week. The scale shows an increase and it turns out it's actually water. And there's so many reasons, as you know, Maebh, too, for fluid retention. Stress causes fluid retention, too much caffeine, heat, hormones. So again, that is why we'd always say not to focus on scale, and why our program is so different, to look at what we're gaining rather than losing, and look at the mental weight. It's all about what the mental weight says. So we're going to go through, and hopefully to the listeners, talk about a little bit more about water. And Maebh, maybe you want to bring us through some of the things you'd like to share with everybody.
Sure, Aisling. Just tapping into what you said there. A lot of clients, exactly, that they have water retention. And I don't know if many listeners know, but water, when your body retains fluid, it's often because you haven't given it enough water. But basically, to make sense of that is, when you give your body the recommended amount, which we say is around the 2 litre mark, it depends on it, but most people around 2 litres, then your body is adequately hydrated and it doesn't need to retain fluid. So basically you will excrete it out through urine. If your body, I think of it as your body almost going into panic mode, and it thinks, oh my God, I'm dehydrated, I have to hang on to every drop. That's when we'd see people with water retention often. So it's a sure sign that they need to drink more. And both myself and Aisling will know, clients will come in. I've had a number of clients say, and I say to them, how much do you drink on average? I mean, I've had one woman and she said at most it was 1 glass of water per day. And then lots of clients who just drink tea. It's shocking. And they don't even have signs of dehydration. So they'd say to us, but I don't get the headaches. I don't get the, basically headaches is one of the biggest one. So we encourage them to basically start consuming the adequate amount. Now, you might have to start off small, and it starts off with, it's 8 glasses or 2 litres. Some people might start with 2 glasses. One client I had a brilliant idea. She used to bring up a pint of water up to bed with her at night. She wouldn't drink it that night because she'd be running to the loo. But the first thing when she woke up in the morning, she used to say to herself, now, you can't get out of bed until you down that drink of water. So there's a pint.
Yeah,
which is
gone.
Yeah, exactly. And why do we need to drink water besides for general health? In terms of just specifically weight, I'd like to talk a bit about that, if that's okay.
Sure, yeah.
So basically, in adults, it's been shown that when they're adequately hydrated, their energy burn, so the amount of calories they're burning, goes up by 30% within 10 minutes of drinking the water. And it lasts for about an hour, okay? Scientists have looked at this and they've tried to put a figure on roughly, if somebody's adequately hydrated, how many calories do they burn per day extra? And we think it's about 100 calories extra per day, okay? So that's adding up to 700 calories a week. And if you also at the same time maybe increase some exercise or really look at your diet, that combined effort will see you losing weight quite impressively. And one study which just looked at purely water consumption, and the women involved in it didn't do anything else. They didn't increase their exercise or change their diet. They found that over a 12-month period, just by doing the water, they lost about 4 or 5 pounds by just doing that alone. So that's encouraging for people to hear, I think.
Absolutely. And I think also when you're talking about, fluid retention and how we can see it, are when clients actually lose the weight initially. I know you've seen this as well, Maebh, that if they haven't been drinking water, they start drinking the water, we can see on their graph they could lose like up to 4 pounds the first week, and they get all excited. And we would always say, look at the plan that you're on, because we've so many different plans. We'll tell them the expected fat loss, which is totally different thing to weight loss, might be 1 or 2 pounds. That other 2 pounds is usually water. So I always say you might be piddling like a pup, but that's a good sign. Yes. It means that, because the body should be 60%, 60 or 70% of fluids. So, and I always say too that if you think of your body like, if you're not drinking the water, think of your body like a stagnant lake, you know, with all that green on top of it. Whereas your body should be like a waterfall, a nice clear waterfall. So when people not drinking water start to drink it, the water will rise in the body. They will be running to the bathroom, and then we're releasing the extra fluid. So on our graph, and I know you've seen this, there could be the first 2 weeks like big drops, and people get all excited, and they're like, oh, and they're expecting that every week. So we have to say, look, be realistic. And then what happens is, because the body is so clever, really, because when the body's losing the water, we see, and you've seen, Maeve, on week 3 or 4, it's really normal then to have a plateau. Yeah. And this is where I think clients get disheartened. And I think this is where I'm sure any listeners out there have tried programs and will at that stage go, here, another diet down the drain. This is not working. And I think that's the beauty of our program, that it's one-to-one. We can bring the clients through that. We can explain it to them. We're not just looking at the scale, and it is just water. And then what's the answer to fluid retention? You said it, drink even more water. Because I think we might think we're drinking 2 litres. I know myself. Even yesterday evening I went home and I thought, gosh, you know, and I'm thirsty. I didn't actually have, you know, my last bottle before I left work. I love your idea of the water in the morning. What about people, you know this and you might share with the listeners, we always get the some clients who will say, but I don't like the taste of water, which I think is funny in a way, because it's described, I remember in school, as odorless, tasteless, whatever. But what would you recommend then for people who would say that? Yeah,
a lot of people actually would complain that they don't like cold water, excuse me, especially in winter. So for those people, well, for me, the thing I discovered was a tea called Red Bush or Rooibos. It's a South African tea, and it's the one tea that you can have with a little bit of milk. It doesn't taste odd with a bit of milk in it. So it kind of tricked my brain into thinking I was drinking tea. That basically, every cup of that, or every cup of chamomile, peppermint, any of those will contribute to your water intake. So if somebody absolutely can't bear cold water, first of all, try drink it at room temperature, and if that doesn't work, go for 8 cups of herbal tea, and that'll get you there. Alternatively, we have on our website some ideas of things you can add to water to change the taste. You know, beautiful big jugs that we sometimes see in the office here with lemons, cucumbers, you know, raspberries. They really do make the water taste better, for sure. What I wouldn't recommend is any added cordial that people say, but it says sugar-free. It says no added sugar. Yes. Yeah. Big difference. So there's no added sugar, but there is naturally occurring sugars, excuse me. And what we did mention before as well, on another podcast, we talked about sweetened water. There's some of those flavored waters that we think, oh, that'd be really nice for the kids. I'll pick that up. They can have many, many teaspoons of sugar in them that we don't realize. And actually, speaking of children, Aisling, I just wanted to say, it's especially important for children to drink water, and it's been shown in studies to help prevent them becoming overweight or obese. And there was one study, it was school-based, and they encouraged the children to drink enough water by installing water fountains in these 17 schools, in basically 2nd and 3rd class. And they found that when they went in before and after, that basically the risk of obesity had been reduced by an incredible 31% in the schools. They had a control group which didn't have the water, and there was no effect there. So it's a real eye opener for somebody that's concerned about their child's weight as well. Absolutely. I think that's really helpful. And thank goodness now I see there are little bottles of water for kids.
kids that they make it look appealing. It looks like fun.
Yeah.
So I think, thank goodness that's there, rather than, I know, certainly it may have been, as you said, the hidden sugars, because, and again, we need to watch those labels. I think it's really important what you said, that there's hidden sugars, but also, it could be not necessarily on the large part of the label. So that's another day's conversation, label reading. Sometimes these ingredients are written really, really small, in really, really small writing. And they're the dangerous ones, that you'd mentioned, in the water too. So just be careful of the water you're drinking. I love your flavour suggestion. And I myself have started putting the cucumber. That was a new one to me. It's absolutely gorgeous.
So
really,
refreshing.
really nice. And the herbal tea, lovely. What was the name of the tea you said?
Robo? Red Bush or Rooibos. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right.
Okay.
And then the other thing, actually, is sparkling water. I am a fan of sparkling water, I have to say. And a motivation, we say it doesn't matter, drink still or sparkling. The only concern, like a friend of myself, and we're having a chat about this, about the plastic. That's a whole other conversation as well. But I recently saw, and I'm thinking myself of buying a good old fashioned Soda Stream have come out with a new mechanism that just makes your still water, turns it into sparkling. So that's my next project.
Okay, Soda Stream, my gosh, that brings me back. That brings me back. Maebh, listen, lovely as always, talking with you and sharing, doing podcasts. And thank you, listeners. Hopefully you found that really helpful. And Maebh, I think we're going to do another podcast together soon. So look forward to seeing you then. And guys, stay tuned.